welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. National Assembly passes 2016 appropriation bill, approves a sum of 6.06 trillion naira for the year. The President reaches agreement with the leadership of Pengasyn and Nupeng on ways of averting crisis in the oil and gas sector. Former National Security Advisor Sambo Dasuki refuses to appear in court over the absence of his lead counsel. And conflicting casualty figures trail the deadly attacks in Brussels as police continue operations to fish out suspected airport bomber. Now do remember that all our top stories are on our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. And do visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. And we urge you to interact with the Eyewitness feature in the Channels TV app. If you have pictures or videos to share with us, tap the app on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu and follow the instructions. All right, let's share with you some of the pictures that I was talking about earlier, sent to our portal. First is this photo from Mariner in Lagos State, showing a number of people at a service station on a queue for fuel. Our Eyewitness reporter wants the government to end the lingering scarcity. Staying in Lagos, this photo was sent in from Iyano Solo, and it shows these power generating sets. Our Eyewitness reporter is asking the government to find a lasting solution to poor power supply. And from the Ikorodu area of Lagos comes this photo showing a ferry jetty. Our Eyewitness reporter says water transportation should be explored as an alternative. The next one is from Urumba local government area of Anambra State, and it shows what appears to be an abandoned school building. Our Eyewitness reporter is asking the government to complete this project. Let's end with this picture from Benin City, the Edo State capital, and it shows a school premises which has been converted to a poultry. Our Eyewitness reporter is asking the state authorities to intervene quickly.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Thanks a lot for sending all your pictures, and do remember that you can also report happenings around you. The federal government and oil workers have been brainstorming on how to rejig the oil sector and ensure the availability of petroleum products to all Nigerians. The president and the leadership of Nupeng and Pengasyn met at the presidential villa today, where they agreed to increase the country's fuel reserves to prevent a recurrence of fuel scarcity. Now, while the oil workers believe that corruption has been a great challenge to the sector, the Minister of State for Petroleum says the government will for now bring in more products to support local supply.
Issues in the petroleum sector are not new to President Muhammadu Buhari. In fact, observers will say that some of the people in this meeting may have been novices in the oil sector when the president served this country as petroleum minister. And so he cannot stand and watch while things go awry, hence the need for this meeting. Minister of State for Petroleum speaks to State House correspondents on what the meeting is out to achieve.
I will probably highlight a few, and those who concern the issue of PIB. The union obviously wants us to work harder than we're doing in trying to get the PIB passed as quickly as possible. They're worried about the fuel scarcity issues and what the long-term solutions would be to trying to resolve this issue. They're worried about the refineries, and thankful of the fact that we didn't proceed to sell the refineries, but are looking into how to work collaboratively with them to make sure refineries work. They're worried about all kinds of utilization of depots and how best to do that.
The president is said to have tasked them to be agents of change and to ensure that they take change on its head and make it happen. On the current few queues and when it will disappear.
One of the trainings I have is not that of a magician, but I'm working very hard to ensure that some of those issues go away.
The national president of Nigeria Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Nupeng, gives his impression about the meeting.
keenly. We talked much more on the issues of the corruption in the oil and gas sector, vis-a-vis the product allocations, which we are trying to look jointly together. Mr. President also assured that both Nupeng and Pengasan will be part of whatever structures or restructuring that is going to be made to look into some of these issues and to make sure scarcity is completely out of our street and our filling stations.
President of Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasan, recognizes the fact that the president is not new in the sector and is capable of introducing the magic wand to change the ugly situation here.
He is key and is also concerned about what Nigerians are going through. Also to say that yes, he bear their pains and whatever he needs to do as Commander-in-Chief with our support and collaboration, he's going to do it and make sure that yes, Nigeria can tap the benefits of being an oil-producing country.
Nigerians will be watching and waiting to see the queues disappear completely in a country said to be one of the biggest oil producers in the world, as it's only then that they will believe that what happened here has indeed been a fruitful deliberation. Chukwuma Onwekusi, Channels Television News.
There's no going back on the use of information technology for future elections in the country. These are the words of a National Commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Amina Zakari, at a lecture organized by the Electoral Institute in Abuja. Mrs. Zakari admits that there were hiccups in the 2015 general elections owing to the use of technology, but she says the outcome was credible compared to previous elections.
The 2015 general elections may have come and gone, but an assessment of the conduct of the elections are still on. This event, organized by the Electoral Institute, focuses on how to ensure the effective use of information technology in future elections. But all of these challenges may become a thing of the past as efforts are made to address such experiences.
The use of technology has gone a long way in making the elections acceptable, and we're having less and less post-election conflicts. However, as I said, using technology, if we are not careful in the use of technology, the process can also be manipulated. So we need to come to a middle ground, and the discussions like this, the lectures we hold and the discussions we'll hold, will give us insights into the experience of other countries where ICT has been successfully utilized and deployed.
If you look at the 2015 election, without the introduction of the card reader, I think we wouldn't have gotten to where we are today. And I think what we need to do is to look inward to see how we can correct some mistakes within the use of this, electronics instruments as far as election is concerned.
You do not support electronic voting.
The guest speaker of the forum thinks otherwise on the deployment of information technology for the general elections. He believes subsequent use of technology may address the teeth and problems experienced.
You need to start with trials. Your parliament needs to allow INEC to start experimenting and playing with the technology. And I use the word playing seriously. I don't mean it in a derogatory sense. You need to gain contextual knowledge. You need to learn intellectual knowledge. You need to use the technology for a few months, years even, before you start doing it. I always tell people that for a country to start using e-voting, you need to have at least 2 election cycles, 2 long election cycles before you actually do it 100%.
While key decisions reached here focus on how to train personnel to use technology for elections, the general consensus is that the deployment of information and communication technology has led to free, fair and credible elections.
During the ministerial retreat at the old banquet hall of the presidential villa in Abuja, the president told the nation that he plans to deliver on power by providing 10,000 megawatts of electricity in 3 years. Currently, the nation is on 3,800 megawatts, which is a far cry from what the president has ordered the generation companies to provide. So, how feasible is this? Joining me now to take a look at this is a member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers and Managing Director of CCS Technologies, Mr. Arthur Usiago. Thank you so much, Mr. Usiago, for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start from generation. We're on 3,800, and the president wants us to move up to 10,000 in 3 years. How do you think we can do this?
Well, that is quite ambitious, because moving from 3,800 or 3,900 to 10,000 megawatts in 3 years basically means the country is going to be generating about 3,500 megawatts. It looks quite ambitious. Number one, the installed capacity presently of all the generating stations we have in Nigeria is about 9,343 megawatts. So why are we looking at generating 10,000 megawatts when we already have installed capacity to do about 10,000 megawatts? So what is wrong with these generating stations that we are unable to generate up to 50%, what we call utilization? We're unable to do that. That is what we need to look at first before moving towards increasing the generation. Now, even if we're able to generate 3,500 megawatts in every year, the weakest link as it stands today is the capacity of the grid. How are you going to wheel 10,000 megawatts to the discos, even if you generate 10,000 megawatts today? It's a big problem, because the grid capacity as it stands today cannot do more than 5,000 megawatts. So it's a big challenge. And also, looking at the financial aspect of it, industry standard is about $1 million for 1 megawatts. So we're talking about 10,000 megawatts. With the current economic situation in the country, how are we going to put funds together to be able to generate 10,000 megawatts? That's quite ambitious on the part of
But he said
government.
it's going to be over a period of 3 years. Do you not think that there might be a plan in place for that to happen within that time? No?
It is not too feasible. Don't forget, these are things you don't just go and pick on the shelf. We have to consider procurement process. We have to consider the time lag for production, testing, and shipping. So it's ambitious on the part of the president, and I want to share his optimism. But 10,000 megawatts in 3 years, I don't think is a possibility for now.
What would be a possibility?
Now, the first thing is for us to forget about the issue of federal character and look at the principle of localization. What I mean is that you cannot have a gas-driven generating station 400 kilometers away from source of gas. It looks as if we are joking. So what is wrong if we look at all the generating stations that are gas-based and site them within an area at close proximity to source of gas? You know, presently we are having lots of issues with gas. So many generating stations are already turning out zero. Omotosho today is generating zero. Geregu and so many of them, they are not generating. So we need to think again and look at how to put all these generating stations in cluster. Hydro, we'll concentrate them in one catchment. Then gas, we'll concentrate them in a catchment where we have easy access to gas. Now that is one side. If we do this, we'll be able to pop up the installed capacity of the country, which is about 10,000 megawatts. When we get there, we can now be talking about addition. Then the grid capacity, as I said, this is not what you can do within 1 year. That brings me to the issue of embedded power option, which I have been talking about, which is the only way we can take this country out of this darkness. Now, if you look at Ikeja Electric, for example, you can install a package generating station within Ikeja. That takes care of Ikeja catchment. You do the same thing in Lagos and in Benin, all these discos, you can site a package generating station. That is the only way you can solve this problem without necessarily putting all the pressure on grid. March the 10th, this month, we had a system collapse. A situation where we are having system collapse all the time. How are you going to feed 10,000 megawatts of electricity and allow this grid to wheel this power to the disco? It is not possible with the situation where we are now.
All right, Mr. Arthur Siagru, thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts with us on the news at 10 tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
And when the news at 10 returns, the Lagos State government signs Memorandum of Understanding with its Kebbi State counterparts on rice cultivation. That will be on business. Do join us again.